Ever walk through a museum and wish you could, like, actually experience history, not just read about it? Well, that's what we're diving into today.
Yeah.
Parallel World Labs.
Yeah.
They're using some seriously cool tech to design museum exhibits that are a far cry from the usual dusty displays.
Definitely not your average museum visit.
Not even close. So Parallel World Labs, or PWLabs for short, they've been around for a while, right?
A good while. 2 decades, actually. They've been around for about 20
Oh.
years. And in that time, they've put together a pretty impressive global team.
Globally, wow.
Yeah. And they're all laser focused on one thing, taking these complex real-world subjects, things that could easily feel like a history lecture, and making them come alive.
And that's the key, right? Making it engaging. So how do they do it? What's their secret sauce?
They're all about this really cool fusion of the virtual and the real world. They create these experiences that stick with you long after you've left the museum.
Okay, so give me an example. What's one of their exhibits that really blew you away?
All right, so picture this. The Canadian Warplane Heritage Museum. PWLabs actually designed 4 exhibits for this museum.
4?
4. All centered around this theme of making freedom fly.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about these exhibits.
Well, they have these interactive domes, encounters with World War II veterans.
Wait, hold on. World War II veterans.
You heard that right.
Like in person.
Not quite in person, but close. They created this thing called portrait portals.
Portrait portal.
Yeah, where you walk in and you're greeted by these life-sized virtual veterans. It's like they're standing right there in front of you.
Okay, now that's cool. How did they pull that off?
A ton of work. Motion capture technology, incredibly detailed 3D modeling, AI audio tools. They even used this software called Unreal Engine's MetaHuman Creator.
Wow, so it's like stepping back in time and meeting these veterans face to face.
In a way, yeah. And the coolest part, they're voice activated. You can actually ask them questions about their experiences.
No way. To hear those stories firsthand in their own words, that's powerful stuff.
It really is. And it's that kind of emotional connection that PWLabs is so good at creating. But before we get too far off track, we should talk about the immersive dome.
The immersive dome. All right, now you're speaking my language. What's that all about?
So close your eyes and imagine this. You're inside this dome, surrounded by 6 massive screens.
6 screens.
6. Each one showcasing historical footage. And we're talking stunning 4K resolution here.
Okay, so far so good. I'm with you.
Yeah.
But where does the interactive part come in?
That's the best part. On the ground, there are these keywords scattered around, words like valor, bravery, heroism. You step on one of those keywords.
I'm picking heroism.
Of course. So you step on heroism, and boom, the corresponding screen lights up with this incredible montage of footage related to that theme.
So it's like choosing your own adventure through history, but instead of turning pages, you're activating these giant screens.
You got it. And the footage they dug up, absolutely incredible. They went deep into the museum's archives, found all this old film from World War II, even colorized it. It's unbelievable.
Okay, you had me at World War II, but colorized footage from back then.
Yeah.
That's next level.
Right. And each screen is telling a piece of the story, but together they paint this really multifaceted picture of the fight for freedom.
That's what's so amazing about PWLabs. They don't just present history. They make you feel it.
Exactly. It's an experience. And they managed to do that again, but in a totally different way with their HD cinema experience.
HD cinema. Now that sounds a little more, I don't know, low-key compared to a giant dome.
Maybe, but it's equally as cool.
All right, I'm listening. Tell me more.
Mm-hmm.
What's the HD cinema all about?
So they have this massive archive of digitized Canadian military films, right? But instead of just playing a set program on a loop, they give the power to the visitor.
I like where this is going.
You get to curate your own experience.
You're kidding. So it's like building a personalized history playlist.
Yeah. Exactly. They've got all these different themes to choose from. You pick your top 3 films, and then
Movie time.
big screen.
Oh, man. I could get lost in there for hours.
Right. And they thought of everything. They even have French and English captions so that everyone can enjoy the experience.
Now, that's what I call attention to detail. They've really gone above and beyond with this museum. But, it makes me wonder how PWLabs approaches some of the more, shall we say, challenging periods in history. The stuff that isn't always heroic and uplifting.
That is a great question because it just so happens that their work at the Marschwärme Museum in Mannheim, Germany is all about that.
Really? So we're going from soaring through the skies with warplanes to something a little darker.
Yeah, a bit. PWLabs doesn't shy away from the tough stuff. They're committed to tackling complex topics head-on.
And that's so important. So tell me, what did they create for this museum?
They actually designed 2 exhibits for the Markivum.
2. Okay, what are we talking about here?
The first one is called Typisch Mannheim, which translates to Typical Mannheim. It takes visitors on this journey through the city's history from its founding all the way to the 21st century.
Wow, a real deep dive into the story of a city. How do they pull that off? What's the tech behind it?
Well, they've got this incredible blend of everything. Imagine this. A massive city model, but it's not just any model. It comes alive with projection mapping. You actually get to see how Mannheim transformed over time.
That's really cool. I love how they use technology to make it come to life. What else?
They even have these virtual council minutes from as far back as the 17th century. Talk about a glimpse into the past.
Oh, wow. I bet those are fascinating to see.
And to top it all off, they have a little something for the automotive history buffs out there.
Okay, you've got my attention. Tell me more about this automotive history.
Well, as part of the exhibit, you can actually experience a virtual tour of the city. And get this, you take this virtual tour from a replica of a Benz patent model car.
Hold on. Isn't that like one of the very first cars ever made?
The one and only.
Wow, that's incredible. I can just imagine myself struggling to figure out how to trim that thing.
Yeah.
But given the setting, this is World War II era Germany, right?
Right.
So I have to imagine that factors into the story somewhere.
Absolutely. And that's where their second exhibit at the Markivum comes in. Was hat das mit mir zu tun?
Okay, for those of us who don't speak German, what does that mean?
It translates to, what does that have to do with me?
What does that have to do with me? That's quite a statement.
Right. And it's a powerful one. It's all about Mannheim's experience during the Nazi era.
That's a heavy topic, and I can see why PWLabs would want to tackle it head on.
Yeah.
But what is it about this particular exhibit that makes it so impactful?
Well, for starters, they actually built the entire exhibit within the original bunker room from World War II.
Whoa. Talk about setting the stage.
You're right in the heart of it. But more importantly, the exhibit goes beyond simply presenting historical facts.
Yeah.
It asks visitors to really consider that central question. What does that have to do with me?
It makes it personal.
Exactly. It makes you think about individual choices, societal pressure.
The fragility of it all.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
all connected. And suddenly, these historical events feel incredibly relevant to our lives today.
It's so easy to look back at history and think, oh, that would never be me. But this exhibit challenges that notion.
100%. It makes you stop and think. And that, I think, is one of the most important things that PWLabs does. They encourage you to engage with history on a personal level.
It really makes you think about how easy it is to sort of distance yourself from the past.
Yeah,
But PWLabs, they kind of pull you right back in,
they do.
make you confront it head on.
Yeah, and I think that's actually what makes their work so effective.
Definitely.
Because they understand that, history, it's not just dates and facts in a textbook. It's about people.
It's about people making choices.
Yeah, and the impact of those choices,
Right.
the ripple effects that they create.
And they highlight that so well in all of their exhibits, right? I mean, we've seen it firsthand. Like with the World War II veterans,
Mm-hmm.
that immersive dome experience.
Yeah,
Even virtually stepping into that Lancaster bomber.
it's incredible.
Like they just pull you right into the story.
They really do.
You feel like you're right there.
And it makes you want to learn more, which is a huge part of their approach.
Yeah, it's not passive learning at all.
No, not.
You're not just sitting there listening to someone talk at you.
It's the opposite of that.
Yeah.
It's active learning at its finest.
They want you to engage.
Mm-hmm.
They want you to make choices
Yeah.
to shape your own experience.
Exactly. Think about the exhibits that we've talked about.
Okay.
You're not just looking at static displays, You're not just reading plaques on a wall.
Right.
You're activating screens. You're interacting with these incredibly lifelike avatars.
Having conversations with them.
Yes. You're curating your own film festival, essentially.
It's amazing.
And it really makes all the difference.
It does. It's like the difference between, reading about a historical event in a book
Yeah.
and then actually feeling like you lived it.
Precisely. And because you're actively engaged,
Right.
you're more likely to make those connections, to
Yeah.
understand the why behind the what.
It makes you think about it on a deeper level.
Exactly. It's not just surface level learning.
It's not just memorizing dates and names.
Right.
It's really, truly understanding the significance of these events.
And how they relate to us today.
And I think that's something that PWLabs does so well.
Mhm.
They walk this line between like entertainment and education,
Yeah,
where their exhibits are super engaging and immersive.
definitely.
But they also don't shy away from those complex,
Yeah.
those sometimes difficult topics.
Which is so important, right? Because history,
Yeah.
it's not always pretty.
It's not always a feel-good story.
And I think it's a testament to their commitment to really pushing those boundaries.
Yeah.
They understand that to really learn from the past, we can't just focus on the positive aspects.
You have to confront the difficult parts.
You have to understand the mistakes that were made.
The injustices.
Exactly. And in a world where it's so easy to get caught up in,
The day-to-day.
the day-to-day, the noise of it all.
I think what PWLabs is doing is so refreshing because they're cutting through all of that.
Yeah.
And they're saying, hey, look, let's look at history.
Let's learn from it.
Let's have these conversations.
Let's not shy away from the difficult stuff.
And they're doing it in a way that's really engaging and accessible.
And thought-provoking.
Exactly.
And I think a big part of that is that they understand
What?
how to connect with people on a fundamental level.
Okay.
Think about it. We're naturally drawn to stories, right?
Oh, absolutely.
It's how we make sense of the world. It's how we connect with each other.
It's how we learn.
Exactly. A good story,
Yeah.
it can stay with you forever.
Oh, absolutely. For a lifetime. Yeah.
And that's what PWLabs gets.
Mhm.
They understand the power of storytelling.
And they use it masterfully.
They really do. And they're not trying to replace traditional museum experiences with all this technology either, right?
Right.
It's more about enhancing those experiences,
Yeah.
making them more impactful,
More meaningful.
more memorable.
So they're really bridging that gap between the past and the present,
They are.
using technology to make history feel relevant to our lives today.
Absolutely. And in doing so, they're encouraging us to
Think critically.
think critically about the present, about the choices that we're making today.
And how those choices will shape the future.
Exactly. Because, as we all know, if we don't learn from the past...
We're doomed to repeat it.
Exactly.
Man, when you think about it, the possibilities are really kind of endless.
They are.
Like, if you could experience any historical event through one of these exhibits.
Oh, that's a tough one.
I know, right? It's hard to choose.
There's just too many. But if I had to pick, I think I would want to be right there in Renaissance Italy.
Ooh, Renaissance Italy. Okay, I'm listening.
Walking alongside Leonardo da Vinci,
No way.
watching him as he creates, like, the Mona Lisa or something.
Should be a fly on the wall in that room.
Feel that creative energy firsthand. To witness those masterpieces coming to life, I mean, that would just be incredible.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a really good one. I think I'd go even further back.
Oh.
Ancient Egypt.
Ancient Egypt, okay.
The pyramids. Can you imagine?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Walking through those passageways, seeing the hieroglyphics come to life before your eyes, understanding how they built those massive structures without, modern technology.
It's mind-boggling when you really think about it.
Mind-blowing.
And that's what I love about PWLabs. They spark that sense of wonder, that desire to learn, to explore. They remind us that history is so much more than just, dates in a textbook.
Way more.
It's a tapestry of these incredible human stories, full of drama, innovation.
Triumphs, tragedies.
Exactly. And it's full of lessons that we can still learn from today.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
And that, my friends, wraps up our deep dive into the world of Parallel World Labs. Seriously, if you ever get the chance to check out one of their exhibits, do it.
Do it.
You will not be disappointed.